Mr. Gurumurthy, I think on behalf of everyone in the audience and everyone watching on television, on the Republic Media Network, online, across the world, let me just say that we are already we have besieged by a swathe of reactions to what you've been saying, because it is not just people in this hall, it is a lot of people across the country and around the world who've been mesmerized by what you've said in the last half an hour. So first of all, I think we are very grateful to you for that, and I thank you for it. And I also want to say how privileged I am to be in the presence of an intellectual giant like you, and how privileged we are as a country. Mr. Gurumurthy, you said that you are 74 and you don't know whether you will see the future that you have worked for and sacrificed a lot for. And by way of introduction, let me tell the audience here today, we are in the presence of a man who for half a century has gone through the most difficult hardships, taken on the most inconvenient of situations on himself. A man who's been facing court cases, fought for corporate governance, fought corporates in this country, gone to jail for it, fought political establishments. So when Mr. Gurumurthy comes on stage and talks about what he feels about the country and why he speaks so passionately, it is because 2/3 of his 74 years has been fighting for the India that we are proud to be looking forward to. So we are grateful to you, sir. Not just for your wisdom, but we are grateful for what you've done to this country. And I thank you for it. Sir, since we are in your presence, I will ask some straightforward questions. I won't go academic, I'll go straight. My first question to you is on Prime Minister Modi. Mr. Gurumurthy, when Prime Minister Modi took office, and when the results of the elections came on the 16th of May 2014, and I think he was sworn in around the 23rd, 24th, 25th of May 2014, what I call the Lutyens media, they put out this narrative that he's a very good politician, a great mass leader, but he does not have an academic knowledge of economics. He does not have a domain expertise of foreign policy. So they were looking at identifying foreign policy and economics as his weakness. And they felt that the Prime Minister needs an education on this. Now when we look upon it 8 years later, 9 years later, we feel, and my view is clear, that I think the Prime Minister has educated a lot of people on economics and foreign policy. And what is happening at Davos today wouldn't be happening without his application of mine. My first question, therefore, to you, sir, is how do you read Prime Minister's understanding of economics, whether Jan Dhan Yojana, taking a tough, unpopular calls at one time on demonetization, GST. It appears somewhere he has almost planned this through maybe before 2014. So, can you give us an insight on Prime Minister Modi's understanding of economics and how he has gone through it?
See, economics as a specialized subject of experts itself is a dead notion. In 1996, I think, when the crisis occurred, in 2009, June, The Economist magazine came out with a cover story that macroeconomics is dead, which is a fact. There is no functioning economic theory today applicable to all situations, all nations. It is now accepted by all economists. Then where is something called an economics as a subject? It requires an understanding of the society and the specific needs of the society. In the year 2005, the very G20 nations met in Beijing and a resolution was passed that this one size fit all model which produced all these economics is no more valid. Development has to be country specific and culture specific. 2005, G20 nations. In 2008, the World Bank said the same thing. We have learned the hard way that there is no one size fit all model for all. Each nation will have to work out its own model. Tell me which economist in the world has ever accepted this formulation. In 2013, the United Nations, which first said everybody must have one model. You throw all your philosophies, all your culture, all your value systems. There must be one model of life for the world, and that will come from the West. The United Nations said in 2013, which was incorporated in the Millennium Development Goals for Development, that development has to be culture-based. And without cultural underpinning, there cannot be development. The whole world has changed. Economics has not changed. Modi was new to Delhi, but he was not new to administration. He had a vision of developing Gujarat, and he developed it, solved most of the carryover problems of Gujarat, and he was the theoretician. He was the policy maker. In fact, I will give you two personalized instances. We are friends. I asked him, how is it that you have been able to formulate a completely new model of governance? He said, Guru, I called all the IAS officers, 300 or 350, whatever. 3 days I only asked them to say what they are doing in their own department. And they, one after another, everyone stood up and said, they are doing this, they are doing this, they are doing this. I found they were only doing work among themselves. Nearly 60-70% of the work is among themselves. I ensured that there will not be any work which will be done among them. Very little work. This speeded up the delivery mechanism. Amazing speed occurred because the clog was the bureaucracy itself. Economic theories have no answer for this. So, it is the knowledge that you gather as to how to work a colonial legacy called the Indian administration through your original Indian empirical knowledge. He applied the Indian empirical knowledge to a colonial administration which we are having as the Indian administration today, and that's the reason for his success. Even in foreign policy, I think he cut across the normal diplomatic input mechanism and built a direct rapport with world leaders. For example, Abe, for instance, Trump, for instance. You take leaders, he built direct rapport with them. In fact, our media even used to criticize. Foreign media used to criticize even more. Be careful, this man hugs you. He had his own way of handling people. So he took over the world. So you cannot, a silo-based assessment of Modi will never give a comprehensive assessment of him.
Excellent, sir. Absolutely. I was walking in this a few days back. I had a morning walk with someone, and the person said that, see, I was very angry with the government after demonetization. And the person said, see, he explained his position to me. He said, I am from the Sangh, I support the RSS, I've been a BJP voter. But when demonetization happened, I was very angry with the government because I felt that they have let down their own constituency, because everybody had a family member, this person told me that my mother had 2 lakh rupees, and in cash. So for very personal reasons, we got upset. But now he told me that when on the morning walk, he said that when I see that my mother is doing all her transactions on a UPI device and we have a completely cashless digital economy, then I feel that my anger was misplaced. So I think sometimes we react as people. Mr. Gurumurthy, there are people who always look at the negative story, negative side. And we have many people like that. Uh, I look at, let me be direct with you, sir. I find Mr. Raghuram Rajan baffling to me because I'll give my view, sir. I know you're on the board of RBI, you will not speak of individuals, but I find it baffling that he was very much there in the RBI when all the NPAs happened, and now he cribs about the NPAs. Regardless of that, I find that now they say, for example, I'll mention two individuals. Raghuram Rajan says, there's trouble ahead for India. He's finding trouble in everything. Mr. Arvind Subramaniam recently, he says that, oh yeah, good that Apple is investing in India, but we are not sure whether this will be sustainable, he says. Because there are many reasons why Apple's investment in India may be a one-odd thing, And of course, the usual suspects in the media pick that up and raise a question about cynicism. We are steamrolling ahead. And I think we should look at the positive story. And on the political side, let me tell you how people speak. I'm just talking about the cynic side. We have Rahul Gandhi, who every morning gets up and says, we must be very careful about China. China will do something big, and he says our soldiers are getting beaten at the border, which is such a wrong thing to say. Then Mr. Chidambaram says, you don't worry, the economy will fall. He says it before the budget and after the budget every time. I want a very clear answer. You may not refer to the individuals, you may if you wish. How should we deal with cynicism? And how should we deal with these doomsday prophets who are around us nowadays? Mr. Gurumurthy.
See, basically these responses come from not neutral minds. So you must classify Raghuram Rajan as an opposition party man. Then you understand what he speaks is easily understandable. I don't think anybody should be responding to Rahul Gandhi because he says he is a new Rajiv Gandhi. The old Rajiv Gandhi is 8 years, 10 years. He was being projected as Prime Minister and he has been killed. That means even he feels that his past was a burden. Whether his future is a promise or not, he has to prove. That your past is a burden, you have admitted. Whether your future is going to be a promise or not, you have to prove. Then only we can consider Rahul Gandhi's opinion as something to be responded to and relevant. So far as Raghuram Rajan is concerned, I must tell you one thing. He once made an honest statement that the entire NPA is a creation of the UPA rule. But having said that,
True, sir.
How did he walk with Rahul Gandhi and what pride Rahul Gandhi in walking with a man who said NPA was created by UPA? I cannot understand that. Because they believe that the people forget so easily. A new picture will obliterate the old facts. That's not the case. None of this looks credible, actually. If Apple is coming to India, it is not because it is cheaper to make the phone in India. It is safer to make it.
Fantastic.
The entire idea of
Fantastic.
The entire idea of cheaper supply chains has been finished.
Yes.
From cheap source to safe source is the shift in the world. So that is why economics is also changing. Because safety is long-term cheapness. So we need not have to worry about it. If India is sought after by the West, it is in its own interest. They need to develop India, they need to strengthen India in every sense of the term. Otherwise, the West is not secure. Do you mean to say otherwise they are going to tolerate the position we have taken in Ukraine?
They don't have
They
an
said,
option.
no, we understand your compulsions, you have your traditional relationships, we know about all this, we are disappointed, but do you expect a superpower like America to talk like this to us? Things have changed. Permutation combinations have changed. Balance of power has shifted. So, India is in an advantageous position, but India will not misuse that position.
Fantastic.
The greatest guarantee the world has about India that it will not be an immoral country.
That's true. That's true.
That guarantee our civilization gives. So I'm not worried about the media or some of these people saying snide remarks here and there. Our journey will continue. That's why I said, I again endorse what Ratan Tata said. We have another 25 years, very, very highly interesting period ahead. This is the kind of time that we have been hoping for.
So my next two questions related to that are on how Indian businesses, Indian corporates, you've been in for decades a corporate advisor, a corporate crisis manager, everything in the past. How should we adapt to this change? And I link it to what is happening around the world. Sir, after the Cold War, America felt that the world was theirs. What you said, liberal democracy. And in fact, I think Francis Fukuyama wrote this book saying the end of history as we know it. And now even he was so sure that what had been achieved was this final state of history.
Yes.
Where America and liberal democracy will rule the world for the next 1,000 years.
Hegelian perspective.
It's a Hegelian perspective. So while there was a Marxist perspective, this was the opposite perspective. And I found it interesting. I saw Francis Fukuyama, I heard him recently, disowning his own idea. He says, no. I didn't mean history in the way it was interpreted in the name of my book. I meant some other form of history. So today, when even a Fukuyama is forced to disown his arrogance of 30 years back, so we are entering a new phase of history. How should Indian companies, Indian business persons, Indian company owners, Indian startups approach their perspective to how they run their companies? And I'm telling you this, sir, because 15, 20 years back, everybody felt, globalization. Everybody read Thomas Friedman, everybody wanted to be a globalist. Thomas Friedman isn't that popular anymore. So world has changed. So my question is that everybody had this American perspective to how they want to run the business. Every Indian startup wanted to be a copycat model of a Silicon Valley startup in their lifestyle, in the food, in the way they behave, in the antics they do in their office. So everybody had this, we have to be cool perspective and have a basketball court right in the middle of their organizations. So I'm asking you from a cultural ethos perspective, what is your advice while the world is changing to how Indian corporates should run and operate their business and their business environments?
You see, the Indian corporates, I have a long association with them. I have seen them from inside. I have fought them. None of them believed in the Western model of doing business. They were only acting the Western model of doing business.
Amazing.
They always promoted loyalty, though they will be talking about hire and fire, professionalism and all that. The closest and the most critical employees at any level, right down to the driver and peon, they will be having only loyal people. So the Indian mind never accepted the Western model of management or doing business. But of course, if you want some KPMG and others to come and look at your office, that you must have some presentation model. So my feeling is the Indian business is essentially Indian. And when India's civilizational stature goes up in the world, they will begin talking about the Indian values, Indian way of doing things. In fact, many of my friends are Marwadi businessmen. I used to think their HR model is the best in the world, because they used to own all the employees. I have seen many Marwadi top, the chairman and all that, going to ordinary clerk's house if there is a problem. This made the whole organization tick to one culture. Every organization had a culture, has a culture. It is not that it is a boarding and lodging culture. So I think time has come. Just Japan did. Japan never believed in hire and fire policy. Even in their promotions, they were very sensitive that they should not promote a junior over a senior, and they must get the senior to endorse that promotion. They are also a very important industrial power. So you have to align your culture to development. You see, without aligning your culture to development at the family level, at the corporate level, at the government level, at the media level, you will never be able to become a global power on your terms. You will become a global power wearing somebody else's dress, which Japan tried. Japan is now thinking how to discard the coats and become Japanese. It's not possible. In the house, they have a different culture. In the office, they have a different culture. Because these are all strategic reformulation of a failed nation, defeated nation to come up. Every nation formulates its strategies. We have also formulated our strategies, our business, but we were not a confident people. Now we are becoming a confident society, confident business people. Our chartered accountants are becoming confident. Our lawyers are becoming confident. Our MBAs are becoming confident. So they can develop their own theories now. So my feeling is, as India rises, the Indian thoughts, Indian models, Indian way of doing things will become a brand for others to follow.
Sir, I'll ask you 2 more questions and maybe I'll take 2 questions from the audience. My next question which emerges from this, sir, is the concept of value versus valuation. Good businesses, in my view, should build value. Of late, people have been chasing valuation. And we have seen a colossal loss of shareholder value in the last 1 year. Some companies which suddenly went to the market on the basis of high valuations, extracted the money from the retail investor. Their individual promoters became very rich. They got interviewed everywhere. And the media also, sir, I'm so sorry, the pink media is so sold out sometimes. They made these people heroes, but now the company's valuations, sir, have come down by 50%, 60%, 70%. Even SEBI is now beginning to get concerned that what has happened, what have we done? And SEBI should do some rethinking. So this is also a cultural thing, sir, because there was so much free capital available. You know, everybody, I've seen companies, I'm not taking names, the first thing that they do when they raise capital is not build their product, they do a big advertising campaign. They get invited on business channels and then they extract the value from the advertiser, give the money to the advertiser, they extract the value from the investor, and basically they're vamoose. So I think that there is a lack of corporate ethics there. So a question to you, sir, is, I'm concerned about the social implications as well. We see Microsoft laying off people, we see others laying off people, but I've also seen a lot of Indian companies that had taken this easy capital now suddenly start to streamline. And when they are streamlining, sir, they're not streamlining by 10%. They may say we are shaving off 10% of our employees, but the real shaving off is a lot more. It leads to unemployment. It leads to social, there'll be a lot of people who would suddenly be laid off. So my question to you, sir, is taking off from the previous question, a lesson for Indian corporates and businesses on this issue of value versus valuation, sir. What is your reading of it?
See, actually, after globalization, when the global money began driving, you must have heard about how far the global money expansion has taken place. Bain's company report and all that. Money is generated by money. I'll just give you 3 figures. The world wealth in 2019 was estimated at $380 trillion world wealth, out of which $260 trillion, $280 trillion is real estate, out of which $220 trillion is house property. These are all valuation. Nobody sells the house property. And nobody can buy. For example, in America, the house property valuation is $48 trillion. But who is going to buy these properties at $48 trillion? All this has gone into creating money. And the debt outstanding against it is $253 trillion. I am giving 2019 figures from the Credit Suisse Wealth Report. You up the valuation, you cut down the interest rate, the values go up, your property. This is how the subprime, the whole world has got on to the subprime model. Creating money out of appreciation in the value of the assets, which is called asset appreciation model. And monies that have been created out of it, the investors want demand. For example, you have interviewed Sridhar Vembu. Yes. Sridhar Vembu is a person who has refused to take $1 of investment from any fund. There are people who are standing in queue. His company is valued at 40,000 crores or something like that. He has refused to take. He says, once I take money, I will not be able to do any R&D work. He is plowing back all the money. His monthly profit is 300 crores. He is putting all the money in R&D. His idea is, in the next 7-8 years, he should become one of the top 5 technology companies in the world. That is the model for India. India must live by earning and saving and not by borrowing and spending. This is the model that India has to give to the world. Actually, the Western model is borrow and spend, borrow and invest, and naturally that produces a new dynamics. And this development is because the foreign funds invest money and they want you to show results, and that is how even accounting frauds have taken place in Enron and all that. So these, particularly the new technology companies, are victims of this. I think there has to be more shareholder awareness. Media has to play a role. And I don't find any great media intellectualism to alert the people, because today the media, the journalists want to drive in big cars and they want to have farmhouses. It is not possible for them to be very truthful in their writing.
I think Sridhar Vembu's example, sir. By the way, sir, I share that view on the media, sir. And let me tell you very frankly that media does not consider me to be a part of their media.
Because you have not taken money from the funds.
Correct, sir. And I also believe in the Swadeshi model, sir. As you know, sir, Republic is one media house which does not have 0.00001% foreign shareholding in this company. It's so easy for us to raise funds, but we want a Swadeshi model of media in India as well. And I can promise you, Mr. Gurumurthy, in our lifetimes, we will take this Swadeshi model to a global level also.
100%.
So I think Sridhar Vembu's model is marvelous, but it also comes from his strong cultural confidence.
Without cultural underpinning.
I really want to meet him one day. The person lives in his village, he drives a cycle, and he's not doing anything for show. He thinks big, and my grandfather, by the way, sir, who was a leading communist and Marxist leader of his time, used to tell me that Arnab believe in simple living and high thinking. And I think today's Sridhar Vembu is
those
Marxists. I'm talking about 50s, 60s. Sridhar Vembu is a perfect example of someone who is simple living and high thinking. And by the way, he considers Mr. Gurumurthy as his mentor. So I think we all have you as a guiding light. Mr. Gurumurthy, my last question, and we'll take 2 questions from the audience after that. So you spoke about settling the past. It was a very interesting phrase which you used. Article 370, settling the past. Don't keep Kashmir on the back burner. Or on what you call, slow burner. Resolving the Ram temple issue. Don't keep it on the slow burner. Don't keep poverty on the slow burner. Don't build up this whole issue of caste-based reservations as an issue that you can pick up at any point of time to provoke people and ignite fires. Just before you today, we saw a presentation by Dr. Shamika Ravi where she showed that there were far more riots 10 years back or 15 years back than there are now. You know, it's remarkable when we say that. And how many of those riots were caste-based riots? Now, sir, my last question is broader. Settling the past is good, but there are people who want to muddy the present. You see, and what you call anarchists. And we have a genuine issue. See, we have limitations of being a democracy. When we have roads being stopped, when we have protests that are contemptuous of the Supreme Court as well, we are somewhere held back because of the fact that we have to handle the complexity of a democracy. My question to you is broader, sir. People say we are exactly poised where China was 20 years back. But China seized the opportunities and could push forth ahead, and one of the reasons they could is because they were not a democracy. Will we be able to do that within the complexity of running a peaceful, multi-party democracy? Is it possible to do that?
See, I think the idea of keeping development upfront, which Narendra Modi has done for the last 10, 15 years, from Gujarat days, I believe that many people are now sold on the idea of development. The idea of development moderates this kind of the credibility that these people have, the anarchists, because of the support they get and all that. I think the more the idea of development takes root, then the idea of agitations will go back. The credibility of the agitations supported by all these liberals and left and media, that will also go back. I think as compared to the position in 2014-15, things are much better now. I will only because it's not very easy to do this U-turn. I think with all the limitations of a highly split polity, with a society which is so diverse, if you keep India on the one hand and the rest of the world on the other, you have more diversity here than the rest of the world put together. I mean, we are still clicking because there is a common ambition which has been aroused in India in the last 10 years of India as the agenda. I think this is now picking up. Just one statement which Kennedy made, man on the moon, that completely lifted America. So India as a global power, that 21st century is India's century. I think this will hugely moderate these vociferous and anarchist tendencies. Because certain amount of emotional building is needed, and that is happening in my view. Because it is a 50-year overview I am giving what state India was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and what it is today. I am able to see the difference. There is a paradigm shift.
Absolutely. Would we have any interest in questions from the audience? Okay. You have a question, sir? We'll take 2 questions for Mr. Gurumurthy. Yes, please, sir.
Sir, thank. At the age of 45, I understood that scrapping a vehicle at 8 years age of that vehicle is not good for the economy and for the environment. So many questions we understood. 84% of the protein comes from crop. Sir, at the age of 44, I am a chartered accountant. Why these things doesn't come in the education policy? Why a child doesn't learn it? I am well learned into economics, but this never has been the part of my education. Today, when I see at the colleges, schools, I'm running colleges, going to the schools, 40 to 50% kids, they are getting addicted to kind of vape, that is e-cigarette, and another things, or the digital media. Yes, probably as you said, our DNA is very well cultural. Last 10 years taught me how gracious was our culture. The Indian heritage is really fantastic, and I'm proud of that. But that is all my study of last 10 years and some great lectures like you people have arranged. Never my studies and my books has taught me all these things. Why and what we are supposed to do so that my every kid, every person will learn these things. Probably this all knowledge and great thoughts, they remain only to well-studied people like us, and even on TV and media, people rarely see these things. They are much interested into entertainment. Please change the education, and everybody should be enlightened.
Shall I tell you something? It is this very group which would prevent any change in the education system. They will say it's all saffron. Once you begin talking about India, they will say it is saffron. It is this class, this educated class, this English educated group, and who wanted good name from others. You know, one of the greatest weaknesses of our people is they want certificate from enemies. They don't want certificate from anyone else. Our enemy must say you are a good person. Then you are a good person. See, this kind of weaknesses as a civilization, we are overcoming. I tell you, the change that has taken place after 1990s, with of course some ups and downs. I didn't believe it would take place in my lifetime. I'm telling you. From 1970, I have been working. In emergency, I was underground. And afterwards, I was arrested and a huge political battle with Rajiv Gandhi and all. But I never thought the kind of change which I have seen later, I would see in my lifetime. So you got to see some 20, 30 years time span as to what is the change. You cannot see this change every year or every 2 years. You have to wait. But the change is taking place.
Absolutely. Wonderful, sir. See, whenever you are answering, I think that, have you noticed one thing, Mr. Gurumurthy, that the entire audience has been silent and spellbound listening to you for 1 hour? I'm glad you're not a TV anchor, sir. You would have taken my job many times over. But your knowledge is profound and you're providing a multidisciplinary perspective. Geostrategy, economics, corporate, history, political science, agriculture, and you put together this multidisciplinary perspective, which is, it should lead to an awakening. It will. These kind of conversations, sir, we should all put it viral on social media. We have one more question for you, sir, from the here. Please go ahead, sir.
So first and foremost, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to be in the same room listening to you.
Thank you.
And Arnab said it best, we never thought that a food style and a lifestyle could impact a world economy. And you exhibited it and made us understand it so very well. Just 2 points, sir. As the economy and the worldview has changed, earlier it used to be the industrial revolution which actually made everything homogeneous, made everything manufactured at scale and reach everywhere globally. Now it is being changed and challenged by individualism, where everything is being, the power of a consumer, the power of a thinker, the power of a social media is making the change. Similarly, in India, the capital allocation in terms of the top 1% and the bottom 99% has also changed. What are your views on that? How does the small and medium scale enterprise in India actually grow big, grow global, and also make an impact? Thank you so much.
Actually, it is globalization which gave impetus to the idea of huge manufacture. You know, if you take Fortune 500 companies in the year 1960, they employed 18% of the American population in 1960. In 1980, it came down to 8%. It is far less now. It is the small and medium enterprises which make the big enterprises function. For example, take any of the Toyota or whichever company it is. 30, 40,000 MSMEs constitute one Toyota. So the way the small and medium enterprises will function in relation to a brand is what will decide the manufacturing part. For example, Hindustan Lever, it's not manufacturing itself. It's getting its manufactured from 1,000 people. So the small and medium relationship will be of the Japanese model. It is the American automobile industry copied the Japanese model actually. It is the Japanese which developed the alignment between small and medium enterprises and large companies. That is happening in India, in the manufacturing sector. And because India was quite late because of the political difficulties we had. Just to give you a small example, the 4 gorgeous dam which China built, it built in 11 years. Our Narmada dam took 60 years. It is because of the political problems, and no prime minister knew whether he would last for 3 months later. That kind of situations. That has been largely overcome because the nation feels that we need a government. Today, the biggest advantage of this government is that it has been able to rule and rule well, and it has been able to deliver certain things. And even if they go for another government, that government has to be like this government, is the message that has been delivered to the most important classes of India who have very heavy influence in the society. So my feeling is that we are all in the transitional stages. This alignment will keep on taking place, and as the world moves away from globalization, everybody has declared globalization as dead. There will be more triadization, there will be more regional pacts, there will be more bilateral arrangements which will take over the world, and this one money concept will disappear. And I have a feeling the picture that we have today will be very different from the picture that will emerge in the next 10 years. It's not possible to do it only through policy mechanism, because a whole host of things shape up the developments. All that I can say is the days of miniaturization of production, miniaturization of enterprises, miniaturization of delivery mechanism has come. Yesterday, a small boy, he met me, he is doing some cloud work. I asked him, he came to deliver his calendar to me, young boy. He had a startup and he said there are two companies, one is making loss, another making profit. I know, what is the profit you are making? He said, my turnover is 1 crore. What is the profit you are making? He said 50 lakhs.
Yeah, amazing, amazing.
You don't know,
Amazing.
these small enterprises are not small.
Yeah,
They conceal something big. Things are changing.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I must thank you at this point. I'm profoundly aware of the fact that, Mr. Gurumurthy, you have not had breakfast. You need to have lunch and then catch your flight. But that is his commitment to this event, you know. And I'm so happy you came to this.
I didn't want to miss it.
No, it's one thing that you didn't want to miss it, but the commitment you have shown to giving your message to all of us, and as people in your physical presence will feel more inspired. So I'm personally grateful to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And we are all grateful
Thank
to you, sir.
Thank you.
Big round of applause for Mr. Gurumurthy.